All right, welcome. Today we're going to break down a really important 2025 review from Sun and colleagues, which was published in Molecular Psychiatry. This paper gives us a deep dive into the practical side of using artificial intelligence in clinical psychiatry. It really lays out where we are now and where this whole field is headed.
So, right from the get-go, the paper sets up a really crucial idea. AI is not here to replace clinicians. Think of it as a powerful partner. You see, traditional diagnosis often leans on subjective assessments, and that can bring in human biases and a lot of variability. But AI? It brings something new to the table, like the ability to learn continuously from new information and process huge, complex data sets from all sorts of sources. The big takeaway here is that AI's job is to be a data-driven support system. This frees up doctors to focus on what humans do best, providing empathetic care and making nuanced judgments.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, the authors give us a really helpful framework, a 5-phase clinical workflow. It covers everything from diagnostics and prognostics, all the way to treatment, monitoring, and support. This basically gives us a clear roadmap for how AI can fit into every single stage of patient care. And that's exactly the structure we're going to follow as we go through this.
All right, let's jump into that first phase, diagnosis. This is where we're seeing a huge potential shift, moving away from just subjective reports and toward objective, data-rich analysis.
What you're seeing here is the basic flow. AI models are designed to take in an incredible amount of different data types. We're talking demographics, symptoms, genetic information, even neuroimaging. This is so much more than what's possible in a typical clinical interview. All that data gets cleaned up, processed, and then fed into these sophisticated models, which are built to find hidden patterns that can help with everything from diagnosis to predicting outcomes and planning treatment. So the real power of AI in diagnosis is its ability to pull all these different data streams together. It's not just looking at one thing in isolation. By combining genetic, neuroimaging, and behavioral data, these algorithms can spot subtle underlying patterns and maybe even new biomarkers that we might otherwise completely miss. And get this, the paper even points to some studies where large language models, or LLMs, have actually outperformed physicians in diagnostic accuracy, at least on some very specific tasks. Now, one of the key tools for doing this is something called cluster analysis. You can think of it as a way for the machine to find natural groupings in the data without being told what to look for. It helps identify smaller, more similar subgroups within a big, diverse patient population. For conditions that are really varied, like schizophrenia or depression, this is a game changer. It helps us to find more precise, biologically based subtypes instead of just lumping everyone into one broad category.
Okay, so once we have a diagnosis, the next big question is, what's going to happen next? This brings us to prognosis, or predicting clinical outcomes. You could say this is where AI tries to act like a bit of a crystal ball. And one of the most critical challenges in all of psychiatry is trying to predict which individuals who are at high risk will actually go on to develop a full psychotic disorder. If we can get this right, early intervention can make a world of difference for their long-term health. And this is where it gets really interesting. The paper points to a key study where machine learning models, using a mix of clinical and neuroimaging data, were able to predict this transition with a balanced accuracy of up to 85.5%. That is a major step forward in our ability to forecast this kind of outcome. And this isn't just for psychosis. We're seeing promising results across a range of conditions. What this chart shows is the area under the curve, or AUC, which is just a way to measure how accurate a predictive model is. And as you can see, we're getting strong performance in predicting things like hospitalization risk, the onset of ADHD, and look at this. For schizophrenia, using genomic data, the accuracy is incredibly high with an AUC of up to 0.95 in one study. But, and this is a really important but, the paper is quick to point out a major hurdle. Many of these best-performing models are what we call black boxes. We know they work, but we don't always know how they're reaching their conclusions. As the authors warned, this lack of transparency can lead to mistakes or even unfair decisions. This is exactly why there's a huge push for what's called explainable AI, or XAI, to make these tools more transparent and trustworthy for clinicians. All right, so let's take this a step further. How does all this help us move toward the ultimate goal of precision psychiatry, that is, tailoring treatments specifically to each individual? Well, think about the traditional way of doing things. We often look at the average treatment effect across a whole group of people. But in the real world, a treatment that works for one person might do nothing for another or even cause harm. This is where AI-driven machine learning comes in. The goal is to predict these individual responses before starting treatment, which allows for truly personalized medicine.
And what's really powering this shift is a whole new ecosystem built around continuous digital monitoring. It's not just about collecting data one time, it's about creating this ongoing feedback loop where we can deliver and even adjust treatments on the fly based on what's happening with a patient in their day-to-day life.
The technical term for this is digital phenotyping. Basically, the smartphones and wearable devices we all carry are passively collecting tons of real-world data, things like activity levels, sleep patterns, even how much we're communicating. This creates a kind of digital signature that gives us the high-resolution data we need to monitor someone's well-being and fine-tune their treatment almost in real time.
And it's not just about monitoring. AI is also powering direct intervention tools. Take chatbots, for example. They offer a private 24/7 platform that can deliver personalized support and therapy exercises. This can be a huge help in reinforcing treatment plans and, frankly, bridging some of the huge gaps we have in access to mental health care.
Now, as promising as all of this sounds, the review is very clear-eyed and realistic. It spends a good amount of time on the very real challenges and hurdles we still need to overcome before any of this can be widely and reliably used in clinics.
So, what are the big problems? Well, for one, a lot of these studies are based on small sample sizes. The models often don't generalize well, meaning something that works in a research lab might not work in a busy, diverse clinic. And then there's the critical issue of bias. If the data used to train an AI has biases in it, the AI will learn and can even amplify those biases. We absolutely have to tackle these problems to make sure these tools are safe, effective, and fair for everyone.
So after all that, what are the key take-home messages? What should clinicians and researchers really walk away with?
First and foremost, the role of AI is to support the clinician, not replace them. It's a tool. It can automate tasks and provide data-driven insights, which frees up the doctor to focus on the things that are uniquely human: empathy, building rapport, and making complex judgments based on context.
Second, AI really holds the potential to move psychiatry beyond the old trial-and-error approach to treatment that can be so frustrating for patients. By helping predict how an individual might respond, these models can bring much-needed precision to selecting the right treatment for the right patient at the right time.
And finally, it's crucial to understand that making this happen isn't just a tech problem. It's a human problem. It's going to require constant testing and validation in real clinical settings, strong ethical rules, and a true partnership between the clinicians on the ground and the developers building the tools. That's the only way to make sure these technologies are actually useful and used responsibly. Which really leaves us with a final, critical question for the entire field. As these incredibly powerful technologies keep advancing, the real challenge isn't just about the tech itself. It's about how we, as a field, adapt our clinical practices and our training to integrate these tools in a way that is effective, responsible, and always, always centered on the patient.